A very warm good evening to our viewers and welcome to the Evening Review Show. I'm Matthias Aufiku, news editor of the Namibian Sun newspaper. Well, as the year draws to an end, there's been so much happening across our country. So many happenings, whether it's in the public sector, whether it's in the private sector. But tonight we have a guest in studio who's going to take us through the diary of government along 2023, Dr. Audrin Mathe, the Executive Director of the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology. Good evening, Doc, and welcome to Evening Review.
Thank you so much, Matthias. We're very happy to be here.
No, it's indeed a pleasure to have you here. Well, can you possibly give us a brief rundown of how 2023 went from a government's perspective?
Yeah, there are a lot of things that happened, really. You would have seen that there's a lot of things happened in the energy sector. Because Namibia is looking to a point where we become self-reliant when it comes to energy. There's hydrogen, green hydrogen on one hand, then the discovery of oil on the other. At the same time, you have known that we have regained our reputation as number one, the freest press country on the continent. That didn't come very easy because Namibia is known for upholding the rule of law, among other things, freedom of expression. You guys have played a critical role in that. Without the media, Namibia would not be Namibia, because we were deliberate from the very beginning, 1989, to say this has to be part of what Namibia stands for. And that's the reason why the government is consistently ensuring that we safeguard the rights of journalists, media workers in general, in order to ensure that they do their work properly. Yeah. On the other hand, we have Namibia won. Again, we were awarded by Zongo Institute in Burkina Faso as a champion of press on the continent. This just speaks to the fact that, again, as I said earlier on, the government is very consistent in this. We have passed the Access to Information law last year. The president signed it last year still. This year, we're in the process of ensuring that the institution is set up. We hope that the regulations were only completed last week. Unfortunately, it was a time when Parliament went into recess on Thursday. So we're hoping that when Parliament resumes in February, then we'll be able to run through those regulations. Once the regulations are adopted approved by Parliament, by the National Assembly, then we'll be able to run the process of recruiting the Information Commissioner and the deputies, so that in earnest, access to information becomes a reality in terms of institutions actually running on the ground. Yeah. That is a short summary.
Okay. Yeah. Of course, we know that over the years, the narrative, government is always pushed to control and put out its own narrative. Sometimes it's been a challenge, sometimes it has worked. Of course, your ministry is central to that. How has it been to trying to harmonize the entire system to speak with one voice?
It has been, I can tell you that it has been an easy process, I must acknowledge that. Because you recall last year when we did the government communication strategy, we made sure that all the stakeholders are involved. We started with the public relations officers of all institutions, offices, ministries, regional councils, local authorities, so they understand that. When there was clarity at that level, then that process went to the executive directors and chief regional officers. Then it went up to regional councils. Eventually, this process ended up in cabinet. There was a unanimous consent in cabinet to say this is what ought to be happening. The biggest challenge for us has been that we do a lot, but we talk about what those lot we were doing. So we have found a mechanism where really all of us, local authority up to the central government, we communicate uniformly, to the point where we have seen members of the cabinet actually on a daily basis come into the GIC and explain what they have done. And I think really this has come about because of the leadership of the president. He has made sure that the members of his team, they all go forward in one team. That is why you've seen a success where even if it's negative news, we've always been available to answer those questions and deal with them. Whether you guys are satisfied or not, at least we have a position that we're able to communicate forth. But generally, there have been a lot of successes which we have communicated. And again, depending on which side of the fence you sit on, this has always been well received.
Yeah. Of course, there is this perception, especially from the public's point of view, that the government is not doing much to uplift the lives of Namibians. How does government work on changing that perception? Of course, it's not something that's proven, but it's perception that exists, and it needs to be addressed nonetheless.
Yeah. As I said, we've started with the cabinet briefings. The ministers, they come to explain that on a daily basis. In addition to that, we've also capacitated the government communication officers to the point where we've introduced government communication awards, so that they compete in terms of getting out information. There should not be ambiguity about this. There's been a lot of success going on. Hospitals are being built, are being renovated. Clinics are being built in the regions. As we speak now, two are being built in Hangwena. The other two are being built in Zambezi. On the horticulture side of things, green schemes are up and running now. Shadigongoro, Nkondo, in Kavango West and East, Musete. All of this, they are now being revived, so that we start at the point where Namibia attains food security. We can't be importing very basic things like tomatoes, whereas we can produce those. On the construction side of things, you've seen road infrastructure. You can drive from here now up to Aminios, completely on the bitumen and surface. Then that road is going to be connected to Aminios to extend to Aranas. Then that way able to come through Marienthal, eventually connect to the B1 up to Ketmashoop. That same road, the opposite of Aminios, you can drive all the way up to Roodfontein. That gives you advantage of getting either into Kavango West via Tinsabis Road, or getting to Oshana and Oshikoto Road via the B8. So the country surface has changed. Previously, you wouldn't drive from my village in Zambezi region all the way to Okalongo. You can drive completely on a bitumen road from Ngoma, getting to Korenkuru, Okongo, all the way up to Okalongo.
Yeah.
All the way come back again into Oshakati. So, if you want, you can go through Makange Road up to Ocho. It's completely bitumen. This is some of the things that we need to talk about. And as I said, I think we've communicated less of our success. People assumed, therefore, that nothing has happened. And some of those, they've taken advantage of our silence to say that nothing has happened. In fact, a lot has happened.
Yeah. What are some of the hurdles that's preventing government from telling its full story?
There's no hurdle anymore. I think the president has clarified that he himself has press conferences where he tells what his government has done. And it's not entirely up to him. It's for people that he has appointed, ministers, to explain it. It's not entirely upon the ministers. It's for the executive directors to explain these things. And then the communication officers, so that we tell the narrative as we see it. To the point where you see scrupulous elements, you say Namibia is owned by one man. It's not possible that Namibia will be owned by one person. If there is a particular case of corruption, say Audrin Mathe is corrupt because he has done this, not to paint a country with the same brush. Yeah. And I think this is where we have to push back. Every patriot must be in a position to defend their country against elements who want to divide us. A lot of lives have been lost to achieve independence now, so we must guard it. So if there are problems within us, we must resolve those. If there are mistakes that we do, we must correct that. And there's no shame in correcting the mistakes that we've done. And where we think we've erred, we've corrected those. To give you some of the things that we've done very recently, maternity benefits have been extended in the public service, including the number of months one will go on maternity leave. Some of this, they came from the public. They've cried, said, how come government is only giving half the salary? We are depending on Social Security. Why can you not give 100%? It's 100% now.
Yeah. So one would then also ask, especially the case you alluded to now of someone painting the entire country with one brush. There is this the spotlight is on Namibia, like you mentioned earlier on the oil discoveries, the green hydrogen. So we should probably be expecting more of these views, whether critical, whether positive or negative. So going along, what will the strategy be in this regard?
Sure. You see, there is nothing wrong to criticize government if something is going wrong. But To criticize for the sake of criticism, I think that's untenable. They say that how can a person get permanent residence, others struggle. I mean, there are countries in Africa, including outside Africa, where Mauritius, if you buy a house for 500,000 US dollars, you get permanent residence in Mauritius. Other countries, Seychelles, will do the same. That's how they attract investment on the countries. I think in Namibia also the same, that if there's a level of investment a person brings into the country, what are the special benefits that comes with that? So we've looked into that. You can't just jump into another country hoping that we are going to look after you. Each country has responsibility for its own citizens. It's not for us to be able to feed other nationalities. They have government where they come from. They must first seek recourse there. We're not getting involved into trying to some citizens using us to fight their own governments. They are a sovereign state. We respect the government that they've been elected there. Whether or not they agree with them, that's the government that's been elected. So we have our own government here. We have our own people who elect the government that's in place. That is the government that we have, whether people from outside they like it or not.
Okay, we'll head for a short break, but I wanted to come and talk about ATI. You mentioned that the regulations are now in place. I want us to talk about that because there is this perception that would ATI really come and change the dynamics and the face of how information is accessed in our society. So I'd like you to gather your thoughts on that. To our viewers, we head for a short break and we'll be back to continue this.
Enjoy the season's best prices all month long at Brock. 2-liter farmhouse ice cream for $44.99. 1-liter fruit tree juice for just $18.99. 2-liter Coca-Cola Original for just $19.99. 2-liter WB cooking oil for only $64.99. And 2 kg Sky hand wash powder for $39.99. See all our specials online at www.vurmanbrock.com.
Well, welcome back from the short break. Well, the long-awaited access to information law, of course, is upon us. Dr. Mathe mentioned that the regulations are in place. We're just waiting for Parliament to resume next year. What do you say to critics who feel that this ATI law would just be another smoke screen to please those and push government's narrative to say that press freedom is a reality in Namibia?
There's no basis to be that pessimistic. The point is that even before the law came into being, we were actually providing information. Government was upfront in providing information. Yes, maybe we're slow in providing it, but eventually information was given. ATI is purely a formality of what we've been doing already, because some pressure group will say, if you don't have this governance index, will go down and so forth. So we have that now. The only difference being that there's a process in which information is going to be requested, and the process in which information is going to be given. So it's regulated now that there's a period, there are timelines that gives effect to that. So that's the only thing that changes. The other thing is that there will be a statutory body, therefore that regulates that provides oversight in terms of how information is going to be change hands. So this just doesn't apply to government really, and there's misconception about it. It applies to NMH. If I have a reason to believe that there's information that I seek that is in the possession of your employer, I can ask for it. So people think that this is a tool that will be used to fight government. That's not the case, really. It's simply a mechanism to provide free access of information to the people.
Of course, we have over the years, as number one, the freest press on the continent, we've held that position. But from a global point of view, what would you say are some of the things that we still need to look at to really move up those rankings?
you know, the things that we're in a competitive environment where there are how many, 202 countries that are competing for the same space. Our objective must just be to work as hard as we should, so that we create an humble environment where the media also operate reports factually. They do not depend on gossip or paid journalism, because you find that I'll give you $20,000, you write a good story about the Minister of Information. A politician will give you $15,000, you write a very glorifying article in the paper about the candidates of that person. So those are the things that actually brings us down. So we have to rise above and practice fact-based journalism, so that when the objective must be that whenever I read something in the paper, I know that that is true. So there must not be doubt that is this true or not. So in Namibia these days, in journalism, you might have seen the Africa Barometer beginning of the year, where journalism has gone down. It's rated very lowly now. There's no trust in the media in Namibia, purely because of this. You know, the media is used to insult others, is used to box other people to look bad, some to look nice, and so forth. That's not your business. It's really to report what is happening in the country factually, and so that those who read it, they can create a perspective of their own. It's not for you to influence the readers to say this is the cause of action. Like there's a story that is, I don't know, this your paper or somebody else's paper, where a journalist actually is trying to infuse his or her own opinion in supposedly fact-based story. So these are the issues that we must get against.
Of course, in other jurisdictions, the issue of cyber law, cyber crime, it's big now, considering the digital trends that are going on, and most media sectors, of course, have to follow suit in that regard as far as operations are concerned. From a policy perspective and regulation also, what's being done to ensure that government is being proactive, and not only when we find that we've hit the wall, then we want to jump?
You're absolutely correct. You know, I think cybersecurity is the buzzword in the world today, partly because of the crimes that are being committed globally, using online mechanism to penetrate individuals and access their records, or create some person that is not them. So in immediate cause of action, we've created a cybersecurity incident response team that is going to fall under CRANE, so that they monitor and provide advice and the responses to attacks in Namibia. You'll be surprised. Last year, Namibia, we received about 2.7 million attacks. And for a country as small as ours, that is quite high. Again, that goes back to what you were saying because all eyes are on us now. They want to see how the hydrogen is going to evolve. They want to see how the oil game is going to be played. So they see this money coming into the country. They see that there is $1,500,000 in your account. So they want to see whether they can access that. So this how smart people have become. But as I said, we've been proactive about that. Apart from the cert that we've already instituted, there's also bills that are going through Parliament when they resume next year, so that we really close gaps, but also to ensure that data is protected, because 45% of your data is stored in other countries other than Namibia. So what happens there where it is? What if it's hacked there? Can you sue in that jurisdiction because your data is stored there? Or can you sue here where the data was collected? So these are some of the issues that the Bureau intends to address, so that data is only available when you say it must be available. Or for purposes like when, for example, if you have your passport, your ID, obviously there will be compulsory information that will be sought from anyone who applies for an ID. So that, for example, if you go missing, we can simply trace you by the data that you already have. So this is really part of the information that government seeks. At the same time, we're looking at for interoperability of machines in the country. If you have the system at Home Affairs a system at GIPF, a system at Electoral Commission of Namibia. Is there any reason why they can't talk to each other? Say the moment a child is born, you get registered in the register of birth. By the time that you are of voting age, your name must automatically appear in the voters register. But if for whatever reason the person becomes deceased, then your name is offloaded from now is registered on the death register, automatically removed from the electoral commission's register, voters register, so to speak. At the same time, the moment you get 60, if you're a public servant, your name is automatically appears on the pensioners register of GIPF. So these are the issues that we are trying to work so that we have a digital government at least by 2030.
Yeah. Of course, not so long ago, Honorable Vipwa Mwarukwa, he tabled a motion on social media, basically how to control it, basically to rein it in. And there's been a lot of incidents on social media. Some of them even resulted in court cases, defamation, and so on. How do we manage this delicate situation? Of course, balancing freedom of speech and still responsible speech.
You know, it's a catch-22 situation where, again, anonymously, I can create an account in the name of someone that is not me, then start to insult you. But you have no recourse because you don't know who that person is. So I think there has to be some mechanism of check and balance for everything, really. No right of freedom is absolute. They're subject to other rights and freedoms of other people as well. So I think we have to create harmony with it. And it's not a far-fetched thought to have. We should really start thinking about that because we've seen people who sometimes even their own names, they will circulate information that's malicious. How do you defend yourself on the cyberspace? Because you don't know how many people have had access to that. And this is done, unfortunately, without recourse, without paying attention to what harm that could come to your families. So I think that's really the way I understand the Member of Parliament to be saying that perhaps there should be some way of regulating so that social media also doesn't go unrestricted. There have to be consequences for actions by anyone to anyone that tends to harm the next person.
Yeah. Just as we wrap up the show this evening, I want us to talk about the issue of network coverage across the country. I know it's something government has been big on. How is that getting along? Of course, we know that the internet is not a luxury anymore. And without network, there's a lot of our communities out there who cannot access these services. How far are we in that regard?
Absolutely. Very, very, very important question. You know, so as we stand now, the target in HPP2 was to have connectivity 80%. We have exceeded that by 5%. Now there is connectivity 85% of the country. But there are areas that are quite concerning. If you take Kunene region, there is 41% of 4G connectivity, which is twice below the national average. If you get to the south, Hardap 77%, Zambezi 78%, Omaheke is about 59%. So we are trying to bring those regions where there's less connectivity, at least to the national level. But the next phase is to say, all things being equal, from next year, we will then be rolling out sites, 10 sites for the next 3 years. So that will be 30 sites. So that some of them to be upgraded to 4G, because we still have areas where there's only 2G connectivity. And they cost us a lot of money because 2G doesn't do anything else other than just receiving and making a call, but also receiving and sending a text message. That's what 2G is capable of. So you want to eliminate that. But to do that, we are discussing now to have, each time a phone is imported into Namibia, they have the basic specifications in that phone so that we know that those phones will be able to be compatible with 3G or 4G site. And then in future, when 5G becomes reality. So this is what we're looking at, really, to ensure that there is access to information by anyone throughout the country. we are moving away from population coverage now, which is what is current in the country. We are only providing sites where people live. But if you must drive between distances, there's a reasonable chance there will not be connectivity in between those areas. So that is why we are looking at the option. Will satellite be the solution to some of these challenges? You may know that the government of Angola have launched a satellite last year. And they've given an allotment to each SADC member state on their constellation. As we speak now, our minister is having conversations in Dubai with his Angolan counterpart today, so that then see how soon we can take up this offer, so that maybe it will be a solution for us, because satellite, you'll be able to cover the entire country 100%. But what you need there is to ensure that if everything goes up, at some point it must go down. So that works for the satellite as well. It means that we are going to be needing decoders in homes, so that you will be able to receive the signal. But also the second recommendation is to, in terms of housing policy, as the construction is taking place, the houses or buildings must already be cabled, so that if you move into your house, the choice is for you whether you want to have connectivity or not. So that's really the thinking going forward.
Well, Dr. Mathe, thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Have a happy festive period.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next year.
Not most definitely.
Sure.
Thank you. Well, to our viewers, that's it from the Evening Review team this evening. See you again tomorrow, same time, same place.